Hey everyone, Pierce here with the SojournVR team. Today I'm making this video to discuss what we've been doing over the last few months and plans for the future. First thing I want to talk about is on May 30th we did a Madison VR meetup and got a lot of great feedback there, discussing with other VR developers and just VR enthusiasts in general. We showed off our latest build, which included our player journal, respawn altars, some caves, and the relic inventory manager that we created, and we got a lot of good feedback regarding those features. Going off of that, I want to talk about the features that we did add since our last DevVlog, which I believe was 3 months ago. It's been a while since we did that one, and we've added a lot more content and migrated away from kind of the cartoony style we had going back then. So the first thing I want to talk about is the player journal. The player journal is one of two components that are permanently fixed to your player's tool belt around your waist. It's on the left hand side, and basically what it allows you to do is you pick up the journal, you can look at your stats, your quests, lore, stuff like that within it. We showed this off as a public demo on May 30th at the Madison VR meetup. And a lot of players like this. The only issue we have right now is with Unity. There's a lot of Z fighting with the text for some reason, meaning that the text sometimes goes behind the pages when we flip it, but that's something that we are currently trying to troubleshoot. The second component of the tool belt is the player inventory relic. We initially had a 2D inventory structure, and after playing with it for a while, we decided that it was too much of a UI, and so we went with more of a 3D structure. And the relic fit perfectly in with the lore for our game. And so what it allows you to do is you can place the relic in front of you, and it goes to the perfect height and position in front of your character for you to interact with the individual inventory slots. You can just grab and place items from the inventory very easily. Another feature that we implemented since the last video were the respawn altars. Obviously a very important component of the game since players will be dying frequently. So what the altars allow you to do is when you see an altar, you can run up to it, and as long as you're within a certain vicinity of it, it'll set it as your current altar. So when you die, you'll respawn at that altar. What this allows players to do is, if they would like to, they can travel really long distances, say a town, and as long as they don't go to another altar, a fast way to get back would be to just go fight a mob and die. Our map is very large, and traveling is fairly slow right now. We do plan on implementing mounts and other transportation methods eventually, but for the base release, those will not be implemented. Aside from those, we implemented chests and other looting devices and cave systems. Caves are kind of like mini dungeons where they reset after somebody completes them after a certain amount of time. However, they are not instants like a lot of MMOs and RPGs that are out now. They'll have the dungeons where like you can get up in a party and go and run the dungeon with your friends without having to worry about running into other people. With the caves in our game, it's totally open world, so anyone can come in and steal your chests, your loot, the boss if you're fighting a boss within the cave itself. Another thing that we've worked on since the last video, we stepped away from the floating head, floating body, floating hands style that a lot of games go for. We decided to go with a more realistic inverse kinematics feel, which means basically we have a full body character like most MMOs and RPGs out there, Skyrim for example, or any other Scrolls game have the full body characters, except instead of animating it with each action, what we do is we calculate where the elbows, shoulders, hips, knees, all of those should be in relation to just the headset and the controllers. Right now we're running into a lot of issues with this. We definitely need to polish it up a lot more. We have a lot of really funky looking clips where if you crouch and run, your character looks like it's like a coyote sprinting through the woods. Likewise, we are having issues where players will hold the controllers in one place, kind of in front of them, and because of that, it's a very unnatural looking walking motion because the arms obviously aren't swaying back and forth. One of the issues we can't really unsync this inverse kinematics and add an animation is if we implemented a sprinting animation for a player, other players wouldn't know where that player's hands were, and so if that player was holding a sword and running towards another player, it could be possible that they're winding up for an attack and the player that's about to get attacked would have no idea because it would just look like they're running. So this is an issue that we have to tackle. We're still going to have to do a lot of research, a lot of play testing to figure out exactly the right balance between what we're going to need to animate, how we're going to need to animate it, and whether or not we can just use strictly an inverse kinematic system. Other than that, we do have a lot of lore set up for our game, a lot of quest ideas that haven't quite been implemented. We do have a questing system, however, so you are able to do gathering quests and stuff like that. We are implementing, currently there are two things you can do. You can do jobs, which will be obtainable at a bulletin board in each town. The jobs are going to be kind of the daily / repetitive quests, such as gather quests, kill quests, but we really want to focus on the actual quests within our game being very in-depth and very hands-on. It would be the quests in our game would be more like an odyssey. It would take a very long time. You'd have to do a lot of things, talk to a lot of people, travel very great distances, and the loot would be much better than just doing a simple task or job. But like I said earlier, we did move away from the kind of cartoony look that a lot of games have been doing recently. We're going for a more realistic look. A lot of grass, a lot of nice looking trees. We're still working on the balancing between the realism and how the game handles. For instance, right now we have actual leaves on our trees, but we've noticed at a long distance the leaves become very pixelated, and so we have to work on different levels of detail where maybe those leaves at a specific distance become a lot more solid and a lot less leafy. But yeah, plans for the future. We are currently planning on launching on Steam within the next month and a half. Hopefully by the end of next month. As much as we didn't want to do it, we are going to be launching into early access with a discount immediately. The reason we want to do this is because although we've been getting feedback and support from our currently growing community, we wanted this community to grow faster, and we wanted more support from more VR enthusiasts. A lot of our support and feedback have been from family and friends. We wanted to eliminate all potential bias with this. So we're doing the Steam Early Access release, even though our game isn't extremely polished, isn't extremely finished, just so that people have the potential to say, hey, we don't like this feature should probably be removed, you should probably implement this feature. We want to work hands-on with our community to create the best VR experience possible for a VR RPG that's also going to be online and multiplayer. We do have a few features that currently aren't implemented. Eventually we're going to have banking and shopping and very dynamic NPCs. Those are going to be the next steps before releasing it onto Steam within the next month and a half. Obviously right now we can't really implement the shopping because the way the shops are going to work is the NPCs will actually be walk out into their shops. They'll actually place new items on the tables for you to pick up and purchase, and they'll be manning the counters where you'll be able to sell stuff to them. And as for the banking right now, we're having a few issues with our inventory relic because we want to use the inventory relic to also do the banking. So the way that'll work is when you place your inventory relic within the bank, it'll open up your bank slots instead of your inventory slots. That's it for this dev vlog. Thank you everyone for the continued support that we've been given on Facebook, even though we haven't been too responsive within the last few months. It really means a lot to us. And we should be releasing new dev vlogs weekly now until our launch next month on Steam. So stay tuned.